West for the most part of the year.
What do you expect here in this one tonight?
We've got a lot of speed and a lot of skill and young skill, so those guys will make plays if you give them ice to play on, and they're always dangerous. I don't think the history of where they've been in the last 2 weeks has anything. There is a real mental break for hockey teams after Christmas, so we're going to kind of come out and get back into the game, and sometimes those teams on back-to-back after Christmas almost have a bit of an advantage on you. They're back to game speed, so we got to get up to game speed early.
Coach, would you consider that break as a fresh start for your team?
Yeah, I would look at it as just a place to heal. So we're going to, return 3 players that we didn't have in our lineup in our last game, and almost for the whole month with Barkov and Lundell out of our lineup and Gudish. We missed those guys. But even more importantly with that, we went through a run of illness in December where we'd have a guy miss a game, come back, but geez, the next 2 or 3, he was really struggling. So we had a whole bunch of guys dealing with that. Yeah, my trainer came in and said, nothing to report this morning. I haven't heard that in 2.5 months, so we're pretty happy, pretty excited here.
It's your first season in Sunrise, but how can you deal with the expectation before the start of the year? We're talking about probably a good push for the Panthers.
I think before the start of the year, they were talking about last year. And the challenge here is getting past that and understanding we're a different team. And a lot of the talk from last year is they hadn't dealt with any adversity. Well, we've had a bunch. We've had a tough schedule for sure. And then we've lost key guys for long blocks of game, 10-game blocks. But big chunks of our game are really good. And so there's a lot of hope with that. There's a lot of belief in that. Get some players back and then build. So we think we're going to pay for it again. This month is not going to be easy for us. We're going to get to... By the time we get to the 25th of January, we still have half our home schedule left. So we're going to be on the road an awful lot. We play 4 sets of back-to-backs in this block of games. So our adversity is not done yet. But if you can do it somewhat healthy, then you can build there. So we look at this month as a place for us to really define our team, how to handle adversity, kind of get back into the fight and put ourselves in a good position in the last 2.5 months where I think we still have 20 home games where we'll be in pretty good shape.
I mean, on the front of getting guys back, were Barkov, Ekblad, and Gudish cleared?
Correct.
You did deal with expectation in the Canadian market like Toronto and Winnipeg.
Right.
How different it is here for you?
The hockey part of it doesn't change. When you leave the building, nobody knows who you are, which is nice.
Is it easier?
Well, when you're losing games, it is for sure. That part's different, but the room isn't any different. So we came out of Winnipeg at a time where we had a run there. We were a pretty good team. We had high expectations for ourselves. And then you come into here, there's still that in the room. There's always, I think maybe sometimes from the perception from the outside, and maybe this was early on when the league expanded west and expanded south, that it's not a traditional hockey market, so it's harder to keep, the players aren't under the same scrutiny. I think it's case by case. I think in our market there is that interest, one, that expectation, two, but more importantly in the room there is. So there's a lot of positive belief here. So hockey's forefront here in this room, right? We don't have to put games on our off days so people think about hockey. They're a pretty dialed in group.
Coach, to say getting Barkov, Ekblad, and Gudish back changes the complexion of the team is an understatement. But with their return, where do you feel it will have the biggest impact overall in the game?
Well, just in all single parts, because the other piece to that was Lundell, right? So you can lose a centerman, but lose 2 of your top 3 for a block of 8 games. You get out on the road. It puts an awful lot of pressure. And some of those, some of the players so you look at what Eric Stahl did in the last month in his game and how he's kind of stepped up and elevated with bigger minutes. Now we would like to think we can get the line. When you look at Stahl's line against Jersey here at home, they were the most dominant line on the ice. And now you're playing them basically in the 4-hole. But we're going to play them. And we expect then we should have an advantage on our lines instead of almost being behind in each matchup, right? Barkov's not there, he power play, penalty kill. Big 5-on-5 minutes. It stresses the other part of the guy that quietly had the 2 centermen are very difficult to deal with. But Radko Gudish was a huge miss for us. It let the other, when Radko went down because we don't have another right-hand fill, you ran your right hand really hard. So you just saw things. Like our D didn't get up the ice as much as they would have in the past because you got running Montour at 26 minutes a night. So having Radko back evens out the minutes. We should be able to play at a higher level. Penalty killing for sure. He's first over the boards every time. So that's another piece of our game. Barkov on those center ice minutes. So the people that we had out have a major impact in how we play. And we survived some of it. I think we played 10 of 14 in December against playoff teams. So we're not exactly where we want to be. But we've got time on the clock here now.
Matthew showed that he could be as good as he was in Calgary. But when you touch the nucleus of the team like that, could you expect with the management that kind of upside downs after that?
No, I don't think it was related necessarily to Matthew for Huberdeau. I think, and it's more of a comment of we've lost a high point producing player and added a high point producing player. There were other players that left that had an impact. We brought some people in from the outside that have actually produced decent numbers for us in terms of their careers. But there was going to be a bit of a sideways movement with that lineup for a little while until we could kind of get it all sorted out.
Speaking of Matthew Tkachuk, one of the things that he emphasized following that loss to the Islanders was that this team needs to find a way. In your mind, what is the biggest thing that this team needs to do moving forward to find a way?
How we handle being behind in games. That would be the biggest challenge. I think some of that is just where you are in the standings. These guys know where we are, and there's a different kind of pressure when you've got 10 wins in the bank and you're down 2. You open your game up, and lots of fun things happen that way, except it doesn't happen in the playoffs. The game doesn't get played like that. So learning how to handle exactly what we're going through is the most important thing for our franchise right now. How to grind games out, how to come back, how to tie some games together. We just haven't been in it to overtime and haven't been into shootouts this year because we haven't been able to get the game closed. Our third periods we open up way too early, or have in the past. So it's not about getting the jump because we have to play with the lead. We don't. We're just going to have to learn how to play behind one.
Last night, thanks, we was coaching a team with 5 rookies at the blue line.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the type of challenge when we know it's a crucial position when you're dealing with 5
I think one of the advantages in that situation is that Montreal is a pretty sophisticated market, and they would understand that when they watch them play. So they have that advantage. I think defensemen make even quicker strides forward by playing. So a forward, you can break in on the 4th line, but even if you're in the 5-6 hole in defense, you're still catching the other team's best sometimes. I think you'll find that back end will make huge improvements quicker than maybe some of the young forwards because you can hide those guys, and you're still trying to win the game, so your veterans go out first. But sometimes a blessing in disguise. You get forced to play the kids, and they get better so much faster. Like Kovacevic we had in Winnipeg. I mean, he's a legitimate NHL defenseman now, but would he get that opportunity if they didn't have that? Probably not. I mean, the payoff for them is going to be minutes on defensemen will be great for them.
Goalie tonight, Coach?
Bob's going.
How important is it? We talked about it before. We talked about this 2 months ago, but this January for both
Yeah.
goalies to really be on top of their game.
Well, we got 4 sets of back-to-backs, so that's 8 games they're going to split, very probably. We play 17 games in a calendar month here starting tonight, so both goalies have to play.
Is Anton Lefty playing his first game?
Correct. First game, yeah.
What have you seen from him?
He's not a 20-year-old first gamer, right? He's a veteran guy who's played an awful lot of pro hockey. He's got a really good shot, and he's got a really good release, and he's one of those guys that can find the holes kind of in traffic and get the shot off. So that is the entire pregame speech for him is, there's lots of guys who can shoot the puck, but it doesn't matter if you can't get your shot off. So if it touches your stick, your first thought is you're shooting this puck. So we want to get him in a spot where he can show what we can do. Too, he's got a countryman with him on the line, so all the communication should be really good. He's got a really, really smart player in Sam Reinhart on the right wing. Both he and Lundell will be able to work him through, and they'll make plays to him. So we just want to see that it's not about scoring goals. It's if you after the game you're going, man, he had 2 or 3 good shots, you know the puck's going to go.
Does Sam catch a bit of finish right away?
Well, probably by now he plays. I've had him with either Lundell or Barkov all year. The only guy I don't play him with is the other English guy in the lineup. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Corey.
Thanks, Coach. Thank you.